So in the words of Eddie Murphy, my girl likes to parting all the time. Parting all the time.
Parting all the time.
All the time. We have parting here as the red Protoss up here in the top right of Daybreak facing off against Maru.Prime. The yellow Terran down in the bottom left, the boy wonder, one of the youngest players ever to actually go far into a GSL. So very excited to see this this match kick us off here.
Yeah, he made it into Code S, and that's a pretty good achievement, as only a few dozen players can say that they've ever done such a thing in the history of the tournament. So we'll see what he can do against PartinG, though. PartinG, a guy who was really known for his PVT on StarTale for a long time. He was kind of brought in as a PVT specialist on a lot of occasions. He was the one who popularized for a while that 3 Nexus 8-gate big push just before Medivacs hit. But of course, PVT has evolved quite a bit since then, with Terran players opting for a lot faster command centers, a lot more macro, things along those lines. So obviously PartinG, while he's still a very good PVTer, has become kind of a world-class generalist. He's a guy who can take down anyone at any given point in time.
That's right. PartinG actually got very far in the WCS Korea matches and got all the way to the finals, where he faced someone on Prime, Creator. So he did actually lose that series to Creator, but you know, getting to the finals of WCS Korea, and it wasn't even just GOM players, Kespa players were also starting to populate those brackets, and actually none of the Kespa players went 2 and out in that WCS. So that was kind of like their first showing, you know, hey, we're ready to play, let's go. By Rain, I guess he's KT Rolster Rain, actually, you know, first kind of showed up on the scene there, and now he's whooping everybody's butt in GSL.
Rain is so good at the moment. It's absurd how many nerds he's killing. So now, though, we have Command Center first for Maru. PartinG had a few SCVs, or a few probes queued up, canceled them all, and decided to put down a gateway instead. He's a guy who doesn't like to scout all that much, but he does put up a Nexus at about the same time, so it's just kind of a weird build order out of him so far, but everything's hitting pretty much on all fronts for him.
Yep, everyone's expanding, everyone's having a good time, no one's attacking each other, just being nice. Maru just, you know, staying at home, building his fun little marines and barracks and such, and PartinG, of course, doing the very normal Protoss build, getting that Cybernetic score up now. He can eventually, you know, switch up tech to basically do whatever he wants. We'll see, you know, we'll get a better idea as we see how many assimilators he actually adds on. Right now, it's just the one.
And Maru saving up for his double orbital commands in a second. Some players in PvT have been extremely greedy, just going for 1 racks and then dropping down a 3rd command center right afterwards before gas. Of course, now PartinG gets in. He sees the ultra-quick command center. He knows exactly what's happening, and we'll see how he responds to it.
Yep, so PartinG is going to get the nice scouting advantage very quickly, seeing what Maru is up to. Maru still has a little way to go with his own SCV to go figure out what's going on, what might possibly be coming his way soon. Single Stalker being made by PartinG for the time being. If yesterday's games with EG Slayers are any indication, perhaps he'll continue on that track and start going towards Blink Stalkers, but obviously it is still a little bit early to be able to tell what he's got in mind.
Okay, well, he runs smack dab into a Stalker in his opponent's base, but Maru does get a good scout on everything that's going on. Actually grab his vision, as you can see. He picks up on the quick Nexus. He picks up, actually, he saw both gas just barely, so he knew that the second one wasn't taken yet, so not likely to be a DT expand, as we've been seeing out of some Protoss players lately.
Maru is actually adding that 3rd command center that you mentioned just moments ago off of 3 barracks. He will be able to go ahead and crank out SCVs, drop mules from that safe location inside his base until he's actually ready to go expand towards a 3rd somewhere, whether it's that top one or the one closer to the middle, something like that. But he's scouting all over the place looking for pylons. He's fearing aggression out of PartinG.
Oh, and PartinG, a 3rd Nexus of his own. Now, is he going to follow this up? Now, I mentioned before the famous PartinG 8-gate that had popped out on this map a few times. The question is he going to tech, or is he just purely going to use this for macro purposes? Because that's kind of the way that things have been going lately, but I would not put it past PartinG to do some sort of ultra aggression.
So we do have a couple more gateways being added on now. With the 3rd base, he would be able to support quite a lot of gateways. PartinG is going to go ahead and back off with that Stalker, but I like his map vision. His presence is very good. He had that Stalker right at the top of the ramp so that he could see the Marines before they were able to see it. That's just a clever use of, you know, terrain to get a little bit extra time to get that Stalker away. He's actually going to leave it there too, or at least somewhere on the map to keep it, giving him vision. There's 4 more gateways in production, 5 gateways in production right now. That'll put him up to a total of 6.
That's right, and that probe's still thinking about putting down some more structures. There's 7, and maybe we're even going to get that 8th here in a second. There it is. So,
sure,
ladies and gentlemen, just as I described before, the world famous PartinG 3-base 8-gate.
Look at the wireframe. It's like a gateway rainbow. He had, you know, green, orange, yellow, and red. Now they're all starting to become green, but that's okay. He's going to have 8 gateways to work with, and Maru.Prime will only have, I believe, 3 barracks before adding on that first factory. So if he can't keep up with 8 gates with 3 barracks, he could be in trouble.
Yes, and he's investing in double upgrades at the same time. Now, the small advantage that he'll have is he can take a little bit of economic losses and still be all right. Obviously, he can't lose a base or anything along those lines, but a couple of workers could go down. He'll be able to recover from it. But Maru gets in, he sees that 3rd Nexus, and oh boy, this is actually a good portion of his available forces as well, which is kind of unfortunate for him. He can't even pick off the sentry off to the side. PartinG, which is stellar control, kills every one of those Marines.
Very good. Micro, the force fields were, you know, well placed enough to be able to scoop all those Marine kills without losing anything. So definitely a nice advantage for PartinG, especially when he's going a massively aggressive build. Picking off that many Marines essentially for free, only the cost of energy really, is going to let him have a big advantage when he's already warping in on Maru's side of the map. Maru's trying to take a 4th command center right now, but there are zealots in his hemisphere here, I'll say, and moving forward still.
And the upgrades are still quite far away for Maru here, so he's not going to be able to fall back on this position. He immediately throws down 2 more bunkers, but he's only got the 1 ready. The SCVs are already preemptively pulled, because there's a good number of sentries to start force fielding those out. And he does cancel his 4th base, of course.
He did have to cancel the base, but that is a lot of forces coming in. Essentially, I mean, the DPS is still only a handful of Marines, about 8 or 9, it looks like, and a couple of Marauders. But look at all the Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots now crashing in. Obviously, he's going to force field the entirety of the bunker so that SCVs cannot repair. He's going to try and drop the factory. Oh, wow.
Oh, he gets it.
I'm very surprised that the Zealots did not actually manage to sneak under there, but the force field's still doing their job. PartinG didn't really lose anything, and Maru lost that very nice defensive front that he had built for himself.
Okay, well, he's pulling SCVs now to try and assault this line. He finally does finish up Stim, but 1-1 and combat shields are still quite far away, and the Zealots are starting to crash through and pick off a few workers. Now with that bunker up, though, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for PartinG to keep this going, especially because he's used most of the energy available on those sentries.
That's right, the energy is going to be a bit low, but he does have quite a lot of resources ready for another big warp in, or he could sit on it. Okay, now he is actually going to warp in 6 more Zealots, 8 more Zealots. Oh, he already had a couple there. He is actually going to warp in 6 more Zealots. He's got a Twilight Council and 2 Forges backing this up that will be complete by the time this attack is over one way or another.
Look at this. I mean, a lot of forces starting to crash down for PartinG, but of course, he's only putting up his Forges and his Twilight Council right now. So Maru is still considerably ahead in tech, but look at that. He's half the workers of his opponent. He has a smaller force on the map as well. So PartinG has done a considerable amount of damage.
That's right. PartinG can kind of ride this advantage for a while, getting charge as you'd expect. He does have both Forges finished. He's going to go straight to Templar Archive, though, before actually getting 1-1. But now, I mean, he's got the superior standing army, like you said. He's got more bases than Maru, and another contingent to defend just in case Maru does try to sneak over with a drop. That's always important. And destructible debris trying to get taken out now, so Maru has a little bit more options for running away. Going to force more force fields out of PartinG if they do fight right here. Wow, really gutsy by Maru to try and pick a fight here.
And he kind of carelessly lost one of his medevacs as well. That's not normal for Maru. There usually has a little bit better vision of the map. Maru trying to take his 3rd base, though, but once again, he's down still by 26 workers, although it looks like PartinG is pretty content with the amount that he has on the map for now. He's just working on making sure his upgrades get in place.
Yep, +1/+1 has been started. Charge will be done very soon. With the Templar Archive, obviously, he can warp in and start making them into Archons immediately. He has not started to research Psionic Storm, so that's most likely what he's going to be doing, especially with Charge. That Charge-Archon combo is really great for facing Bio, which is all Maru can really afford to do at the moment. Maru is adding on an armory to be able to continue his upgrades. He's got lots of offensive Bio units coming along as well. 3 Archons there we see morphing in for PartinG, and he's going to actually have to defend a huge drop now from Maru.
And Maru loses a medevac that was almost full of units, but he still does drop a lot of his payload, and we'll see if that's going to be enough to justify the cost of what he's already lost. The charge lots are making their way in, though, and he hasn't really killed all that much, if I'm honest, and he's about to lose a couple more medevacs in a second.
Look at the, well, after this medevac might go down. Wow, I can't believe PartinG backed off just a smidge too fast. The pylon is drop-proof by those gateways, the bottom one. You know, units do have the range to shoot at it, but they'd have to basically hug the gateways. That's kind of interesting positioning there for PartinG to keep that pylon powering all the gateways. He is streaming down with basically everything now, trying to loop around toward Maru's I guess, bottom half of the map, but there's more medevacs. These medevacs are not going away. They are going to come back and try and get some damage done. PartinG does have quite a lot of stalkers, though, to be able to shoot down those medevacs quickly.
So Maru now has finished up a 4th base. That is going to become a planetary fortress. No real surprise there. But man, he's just so short on units. He's got 5 barracks to his opponent's 13 gateways. That's a staggering gateway count. Now, of course, there's not a lot of Robotech out there. There's no Stargate. There's nothing along those lines. So the tech is a bit limited for PartinG. And if Maru can purely create units that are designed to counter what his opponent has in the form of maybe ghosts in a second, he will still have a fighting chance. But PartinG, really, all of his attacks have worked the way he's wanted to.
Switching to Ghosts certainly would be a great idea at this point, especially after seeing the Archons, and now there is a Ghost Academy actually in the production tab. But obviously hitting EMPs on High Templar is going to be massively beneficial as well, removing shield and that energy that's so important when casting storms. And yeah, basically I think EMP is essentially the exact thing he needs. There's no Colossi, so there is only this one form of splash that PartinG is going for here. But PartinG is maxed, and he's got upgrades to boot.
He does. Both players are going to finish 2-2 at about the same time. Oh, Maru just ate a storm there in a very big way. Planetary Fortress is already being repaired up, and the medevacs really have to work overtime now as the Planetary Fortress is under a considerable amount of fire. Nice job by Maru, though, to hold on for a while and start to whittle away those charge lots. And those units were on hold position a second ago, not really sure why. That actually allowed a lot of the bio units to kill a bunch of Zealots.
That is kind of tricky, strange. I'm not sure exactly what happened either, but now the Ghost Academy is done. You can see Mobius Reactor researching in the production tab means he'll be able to drop lots and lots of EMPs right away with his Ghosts as soon as they start popping out. Adding a couple more barracks now to be able to keep up in the unit count, but PartinG, if he keeps catching little contingent forces like this, he is eventually going to pull ahead and supply even more. 2 robotics facilities being placed down now, so he can actually start working toward Colossi as well.
So Maru's just trying to be annoying, pin his opponent in, but as we can see, PartinG is coming right back with a lot of units of his own. He's sitting on 5 bases, he's got a cannon line up, he's drop-proof, he's eventually moving into double robo, but man, you know, Maru's still got his work cut out for him, but it was a great decision to go for that 4th base, especially with the way he held it. Oh, big storm, though.
Here we go. PartinG actually moving once again, and now he has the high ground against Maru. He's going to try and bait them down a little bit into those storms. Archon's coming back now to try and finish off like some of these Marines and Marauders, but he's actually just going to gun it past the Marines, try to actually get some damage done inside of Maru's base. And huge line of force fields keeping out most of the bio. Maru could be a little more active with the medevacs, but he doesn't want to risk losing one to feedback and Stalkers. So Maru's in a really tough spot with Stalkers and Zealots all over the place inside of his base. Ghosts are getting cleaved down by Zealots. That's something you never want to have happen. He's losing supply, and this is looking really rough for Maru.
Yeah, I mean, the economic damage has been pretty great. Look at that, 55 workers killed to just 3. Now, of course, a lot of those did happen before, so Maru is not that far behind in terms of workers, and with Mules, he'll actually have a fairly decent economy to fall back on. Great decision to focus down the Ghost Academy, though, and make sure that, those aren't going to be a threat for a while.
His economy at this point is in huge trouble because, you know, the 3rd base was destroyed. This planetary fortress is getting repaired up, but a lot of the SCVs are catching lasers to the face, and, you know, Zealots smashing them down. So 62 workers killed now. PartinG still with a pretty good supply lead, did a lot of damage internally. He took out the Ghost Academy, which is very important, and he should feel good about the attack he just did there.
And he's actually moving his main over to his 3rd right now, which is a good snap decision on his part, but he's really kind of in a bad way. He's got 3-3 upgrades on the way, which is going to be a nice advantage over his opponent, but PartinG has just been playing such a dirty style. I mean, with double Robo and Robo Bay, with 3-3 upgrades, with Blink, with 5 bases, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Maru to effectively assault his opponent.
Yeah, especially now that he's got to be on the defensive. PartinG did actually lose a lot of units, but I mean, Maru lost basically the lifeblood. The units he has will have to take him pretty far before he can start just cranking out units on the same capacity as PartinG. Robotics Bay, when that does get done, Maru's not going to really be ready for it with just Bio. Colossi should do some great work, especially in conjunction with those storms. I mean, he's already doing a ton of damage, draining that medevac energy quickly. Here we go. He's actually going to gun it again. I said gun it another time. And I like that little supply depot wall, actually. The SCV is already prepared to start repairing up, and PartinG probably should just not even deal with this base. He could probably just skip it.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, there's no Ghost out, too, and that's a lot of charge loss. So they do have some frontline power. And, oh, Storms! At the same time, he was actually running around the back, so he drew Maru's attention away, and that's what allowed him to land those absolutely clutch Storms that are putting him up by a huge amount of supply at the moment. And even though his Planetary Fortress may not fall right now, he's continuing to do that economic damage he needs.
Interesting. PartinG actually losing a lot of forces to the Planetary Fortress. The SCVs could have been stormed down, but instead PartinG just chose to use them on the bio units that did thin out the army quite significantly, and you can see mostly Marauders are standing now, so the high DPS Marines were essentially all destroyed there. Colossi starting to come out on the field now, not being replaced by High Templar, just Archons at the time.
So, Thermal Lance is on the way, 2 Colossi popping out at the same time. Don't stop at 13 gates, make it 17.
Sure.
Yes, 4 more are on the way now.
He's got so many bases, look at it.
Might as well.
Yeah, if you can support it. Obviously, High Templar are pretty expensive, but with 5 bases churning away, minerals and gas, he should be able to afford pretty much whatever he wants. 4 more gateways total being added on. Warp Prism coming along for the ride this time, and shield upgrades. Protoss shield upgrades are even being invested in, so it's gotten to that point, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, the 3rd base is finally up and officially running for Maru, and it's not under fire, and he is receiving a benefit from it. So his economy is getting back in shape, and in fact, because of the temporary boost of mules, you can see his mineral income is even a little bit ahead.
Yep, 72 harvesters to 54, but Maru's still hanging in there. And with these Colossi on the field now, we'll have to see how Maru's going to be able to deal with it with force fields on PartinG's side as well. That's going to keep the bio from really being able to rush in. There's no Vikings in the air, obviously, because he just hasn't invested in it at all. No reason to until he sees the Colossi. Gravitic Drive is being researched, that Warp Prism speed. But here we go. Lots and lots of Colossi lasers being dropped down. Archons just moving into position to tank a lot of this damage. Storm on the SCVs, that's the big one, because they cannot repair that Planetary Fortress as long as storms are falling. Colossi dealing with Marines and Marauders from all sides. This Planetary Fortress should fall, but actually doesn't. PartinG does back off, but he's got that Warp Prism in play now.
Oh my god.
And this is the strength of 17 Warp Gates.
Yeah, and that's 14 of them. And as soon as he sees the Zealots, he is out. PartinG goes up 1-0. And there we go. StarTale off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, StarTale versus Prime. Once again, if you just joined us partway through that game, you're not really sure what's going on. We did have to do a little bit of a switcheroo. TSL replays did not quite work out, so StarTale versus Prime is going to be the series for today. We're just going to move StarTale versus TSL to next week and hopefully get the replay issue resolved. But for now, we have PartinG off to a great start in StarTale versus Prime for Premier Division Group B.
That's right. And coming up next for Prime is going to be a Protoss player, not Creator. It's going to be Classic making his way in. So Classic Prime has chosen a ginormous map, Antigua Shipyard, and that's going to be an interesting setting for a PvP. We're going to run to a commercial break, though, and when we get back, guys, it'll be time for game number 2.